The disappearance and eventual deaths of Kremers and Lisanne Froon has sparked numerous theories, and the idea of crime or cult rituals and sacrifices is among the more sensational ones. However, as of now, there is no concrete evidence to support the idea that their deaths were the result of criminal activity or ritualistic sacrifice. Let's break down the different angles. 1. Crime theory, foul play. Many people, especially early on in the investigation, speculated that the two young women could have fallen victim to foul play, such as kidnapping, assault, or murder by someone in the area. Why it seems unlikely, the area where they went missing, Bokati, is a well-traveled tourist destination, and there were no reports of similar crimes occurring there. Their belongings, including their phones and the camera, were found in their backpacks, which were left in an area not far from where they likely got lost. This doesn't suggest theft, or that someone tried to take their things. No signs of forced entry or struggle. The lack of visible injuries that would suggest an attack, along with the absence of any suspect or witness reports, makes this theory less plausible. While it's always a possibility in any disappearance, the evidence doesn't point to a crime of violence. The theory of foul play is generally discredited due to the lack of supporting evidence. Cult rituals or sacrifice. This theory has been heavily circulated by conspiracy theorists, mostly due to the mysterious nature of the case and the unsettling nature of some of the photos found on the women's phones. Why people speculate? The idea of a ritual sacrifice often comes up when strange disappearances happen in remote or mysterious locations, especially if there are unanswered questions. Some of the images taken during the final days of Kris and Lisanne's hike seemed bizarre, such as a photo taken in the dark of a tree, a selfie with an expression of distress, and a photo showing a blurry figure near the river at night. These could be misinterpreted by outsiders as signs of something supernatural or ritualistic. Panama has a rich history of indigenous cultures, and some people argue that the area's history could have involved old rituals, though there's no evidence that these cultures are active or responsible today.
Why it's unlikely. No connection to any cult or religious group. Despite some speculation, there has been no credible evidence linking their deaths to a cult or ritualistic sacrifice. The photos could have been a desperate attempt to signal for help, not part of any ritualistic behavior. Panama is a modern country, and while it's true that indigenous cultures have historically practiced certain rituals, the idea of contemporary satanic cults or ritual sacrifices seems out of place in this case. Conclusion on cults and rituals. While the mysterious nature of their photos might fuel speculative theories, there is no credible evidence to suggest that the women were involved in cults or that their deaths were part of any ritualistic sacrifice. 3. What actually happened? Based on the investigation, most credible theories suggest the women got lost during their hike and faced a combination of accidental injuries, exhaustion, and dehydration in the harsh, unfamiliar terrain. Here's what the investigation found. Lost and disoriented. After hiking a while, Kris and Lisanne missed the trail and got lost. They might have been trying to find their way back when they took some of the disturbing photos in the dark, signaling that they were in distress. The photos, some of the final photos, taken at night, suggest they were trying to survive for several days after getting lost. In one, it appears Kris is in pain, possibly from an injury. Other photos show them in a state of exhaustion or confusion. The last photos show them by a river, a sign they might have been trying to cross or find water. Their remains. The human remains of the two women were found scattered across a wide area, with some items, including Lisanne's camera and Kris's remains, found far from where the women started their hike. This suggests that they were lost for a long time and wandered far from the trail in their search for help. Injuries and cause of death. There were no signs of foul play, and it's likely the women succumbed to starvation, dehydration, and possible injuries sustained during their fall. A lack of vital resources, like food and water, would have made survival difficult. Medical findings. After their remains were recovered, no direct evidence of violence or criminal activity was found. A forensic analysis suggested the cause of death was likely related to exposure and the harsh conditions, though a definitive cause was never established. What does the evidence point to? The evidence, including the remains, the found camera, and the phone calls to emergency services strongly supports the theory that Kris and Lisanne were lost and tragically unable to survive in the wilderness. While their final photos are eerie and puzzling, they likely represent a desperate attempt to signal for help or document their circumstances rather than any sort of ritualistic or criminal behavior. Conclusion. While the case remains mysterious and some theories, such as crime or cult sacrifice, continue to circulate online, the most likely explanation is that Kris and Lisanne got lost while hiking, made some efforts to survive, and ultimately succumbed to the elements. The lack of evidence for any criminal involvement or ritualistic motives makes those theories highly speculative. It's a deeply tragic case that has left many questions unanswered, but as of now, no criminal activity or cult involvement has been proven.